So this next horse I'm going to introduce you to has bounced around from rescue to rescue. It's been to a trainer's horse who said she's too dangerous to train. Went to the kill pen, got rescued again, and here she is. So without further ado, let's go meet Faith. I'm Steve Andrews, and this is the Natural Horseman. Well, as you guys can see today, it's super cold and super windy out, so we're going to go get her roped and bring her into the round pen, work her inside. Now, ideally, I'd like to work with her out in the catch pen that she's in. There's good footing out there, and it's a lot easier to work with a feral horse right in the pen that they're in, but it's a pretty windy, cold day to be working out in the pen. So let's go get her caught.
Run it, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready.
Now I'm keeping in mind the first day this horse got here, you know, the lady who kind of works at the rescue there, she said, oh, if you turn this horse out, you're not going to be able to catch it. And she was right. You're not going to be able to catch it. So it lived in a stall for a little while, and I still had to rope it in a stall. But the first night it was here, I just kind of hung out with it. Just walked in the stall, hung out with it, and she came at me and tried to bite me 3 times. And she did not want me in there. So and it was on this right side too, so I'm just slowly over time working my way up to this side to get her used to me being over here. Okay, and I don't know if Krista can catch this or not, but if you look at her muzzle, those muscles in her muzzle right now are really tight. And her head's up and that one ear is back. That's very defensive. So this is all stuff to watch for, you know, to be really aware of. But that expression she has in those really tight muscles running right through her muzzle, okay, those are all giveaways that she's really defensive right here. Okay, so I'm gonna reach out, see if she'll allow me to rub her on the head. Okay, we'll see if she'll allow me to rub her on the neck. Good. Good girl. Right here, she's sucking back. I'm stepping back towards her tail to kind of stay in that saddle zone, but also encourage more forward out of her. There she goes. And when she starts going forward, I'm going to change my balance and walk forward with her. Good. You can see it doesn't take much. I mean, especially with these horses that are really, really sensitive, you just balance your body position on them a little bit and you can really influence what they do, how they move. Okay, we're going to drift her sideways here until she decides she feels safe enough to slow her feet down and stop. Okay, she's starting to slow down there on her own. I'm going to allow that. Okay, good. You can see as I reach for her on this right side, she's much more defensive. She can see it coming, but she's much more defensive. These muzzles, the muzzle over here on this side gets tight. She gets all suspicious there in that eye and that ear. There it is again. Okay, the muzzle's super tight right here. I'm gonna reach out. She's gonna see this rope coming and it might scare her more on this side. Yep, it's gonna scare her more on this side. Now, my intention when I picked this rope up was not for her to go. So I'm going to step in, I'm going to keep lifting this rope up, and I'm just going to control her direction to say, you're not allowed to run away. Yes, you can move your feet. You're a prey animal. I understand you need to move your feet. It helps you feel safe. Okay. We're going to put it into your mind right now that running away is not the right answer. And I'll keep this going until she decides she wants to stop. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to reach for her yet. I'm going to keep this going just to let her know my intention, my energy, my balance is not telling her to do anything. This is just random acts of chaotic stuff. Random acts of chaotic stuff, we'll say. There she goes. Okay, she offered to look towards me. I'll hand this rope out to her, see if she wants to touch it. Nope. That's okay. Let me point this at her, because that's what caused her to move, me just pointing this at her. She's eyeballing that rope out of the corner of her eye. The more she twists her head, the more I'll take that away from her. Okay, I'm going to step around to this side. Reach out and pet her. Good. See if we can work on her legs a little bit here. When I get in here like this, I'm ready to pull her head to me, which is going to give me a chance of controlling her hindquarters a little bit if she gets a little silly. And before I do too much with the hindquarters, I like to do lots and lots of that lateral drift. Lots and lots of that. I can't stress that enough, because if you start asking for those hindquarters without that lateral drift, what's going to happen is the front quarters are going to come right over the top of you, and you'll get yourself run over. You may not have seen that if you don't work with feral horses, but if you go too quick to hindquarter yielding, like that, see that? See how that shoulder's being defensive right there? I'm not even trying to yield those hindquarters, but it's defensive. So if I do too much of that or allow too much of that without those shoulders yielding laterally, I can really get myself run over instead of keeping myself safe when I take the hindquarters away. All right, so the sequence is really important. Now, something I want to balance here. If I'm thinking about working my way back to those hindquarters, I need to make sure I can keep myself safe. So if I ask her to sidestep a little bit, she needs to sidestep a little bit. At the same time, I don't want to scare her any more than she already is. Okay, so there's that fine line between you do need to go and I can see you're being confident, so I'm going to back off a little bit. All right, so there's always balance. That's part of balance. There's field timing balance, there's mental balance, emotional balance, physical balance. All right, so again, right here, I am going to ask her to step her front quarters over. Step over. Okay. Yep, she couldn't see that. If she were to step over and drift right there, she could have gotten around there, turn. That's okay. So I am asking for her to move. My intention right here is for her to move laterally. And then when I back off or when I stop riding, just like in the saddle, I would like her to stop. Yeah, something we're going to want to do eventually is ride this horse. So we need to get her confident with us back behind her tail. I know she can only see us out of the one eye, but she needs to be okay with seeing us back there. So doing this exercise not only helps them learn how to follow a feel, and you can see she's pretty jumpy to that. There's no reason for her to be jumpy to that. She doesn't know that, but she'll figure that out over time. But she needs to get used to us being back there and start to make that transition slowly, and over time start to break it down step by step. Right now she's getting a little bit of desensitizing work up where the saddle's going to go. Okay. Toss this back around her hindquarters. Okay, she's getting a little desensitization work back there behind her haunches. Yeah, and I like, she's not necessarily following that feel, but what I appreciate about what she's not doing, I guess, is she's not reacting to it either. Okay, she's responding and she's thinking her way through this, and there's no rush here. I just want to take it nice and slow. And what I appreciate about that turn is it wasn't rushed either. Okay, she lost sight of me behind her, and then she saw me again. And when you're thinking about putting the first rides on a colt, you want to make sure they're real good about switching eyes. Switching eyes behind the tail, especially because you sit up on top of them, you haven't prepared them for that, they'll see out of that left eye, and they'll switch eyes and you'll scare them. Now, not only are they scared, but something's got them around the girth. Something's holding them. And then that has a snowball effect. They get scared, something's grabbing them, you're on top of them, and they want to get you off. Maybe not necessarily you, but whatever's grabbing them. They want to get that cinch off. Okay. So all these little things need to be addressed. You might go along and they'll get them through the saddle just fine on the ground, but you haven't practiced switching eyes. They switch to prey-animal brain when you're sitting up there, and off you go. All right, so all things to be thoughtful about when you're working your horses through this stuff. Okay, she's reacting a bit there to the energy. She's reacting a bit there to the rope. Okay, that's okay. We can work with this. See if we can toss that up over her rump. Good. I like that she's able to check in there. I can tell she doesn't really want to be touched or loved on right here, and that's okay. I'm not going to force her to do any of that stuff. Okay. Again, she can't see that. She heard that rope drop. Startled her a little bit. I still need to address it. I know you can't see it, but I do want you to be confident with it. Yep, you can check in. That's not a bad answer. Right there, I can tell she doesn't want to stop. I'm not going to make her stop. What I do appreciate about what she's doing is she's choosing to get closer to me as she goes around and around. She's starting to get more curious and starting to wonder about me. I wasn't pulling her in. You can, go back and watch that. I just manage the rope. That's part of my job. It's part of your job as the horse handler. Tool management, that's my responsibility. Okay. Now, you'll hear some folks say, well, yeah, let it get tied up in the legs and all that stuff. Okay, well, that's great, but you don't want to do that too soon. You're just going to hurt your horse. They're going to panic, they're going to freak, and everything's going to get worse. All your work's going to go out the window. So you don't want to do that too soon. Eventually, sure, but don't be getting them tied up. You don't want to overexpose them, because overexposure doesn't stick in their brains. It creates and causes panic, and it really sets your progress back. Okay, so horses use their head and their necks to balance on their hindquarters, just like you'd use your arms out to the side to balance on a tightrope. Right, that's how they use their head and their neck. So we can help them balance by influencing their head and their neck, and it's an important thing to know how to do on the ground and under saddle. So again, she can't see me out of that left eye, and if she's not looking at me, cranking her head, all I have is she has the sound of my voice, but you can't see how I'm balancing on her body. So if I balance the forward with the lateral, use her neck to change her balance, we can get her to step sideways. All right, good girl. Good, she's really starting to settle in, so I'm going to back off here, give her some space. Walk around a little bit. Again, still managing these tools.
I can't take no loss.
Way to tame these horses is to be providers of hay and not just have the hay be there. Sometimes it's good to, if they're real feral, it's good to bring the hay bag out, hang it up, and then just hang out there, maybe on the opposite side of the pen, and allow them to eat. With you being present. But it really helps for the horse to see you as a provider. And a provider is also different than someone to beat up or to take food from. Because if you just go out there and they're out there and you just throw it on the ground to them too, they can think that they're, psychologically they can think that, hey, I take that from you. So you really want to own the food, provide it, share it. If you take that psychological approach, it can really help a horse learn to appreciate you as a provider.
Breaking even no ends, yeah, I did all that, had to make it happen. Putting hours in my practice.